Hey guys, today we're testing this video card. It is the Viper V770 from Diamond Multimedia, and it plays quite an important role in GPU history. It launched in 1999, which is a golden year for retro PC gaming. Think of Pentium 3, Sound Blaster Live, Oriel Vortex 2. Of course, Windows 98 and technology would improve at a very fast pace. Now, Diamond Multimedia was one of the top brands for video cards. I vividly remember the awesomeness of the first Voodoo cards from Diamond, the Monster 3D and Monster 3D 2. But their legacy goes back much further. For example, here we have the Diamond Stealth 64, which is a PCI video card with the S3 Trio 64 chip. If you are in the market for a retro video card and you are considering getting a card from Diamond Multimedia, be prepared to pay a premium. They are quite sought after and highly collectible. This graphics card also tells us the story of the downfall of 3DFX. Just a year earlier, in 1998, you could buy Voodoo cards from all sorts of manufacturers: Diamond, Creative, SDB, and many others. But in that year, 3DFX acquired the video card manufacturer SDB Systems to exclusively make their own Voodoo cards. This left graphics card companies out in the cold, and they flocked to Nvidia with their latest chip, the RIVA TNT. The Viper V770 has the newer TNT2 graphics processor. It's more advanced, it has more features than, for example, the Voodoo 3. Specifically, it can render in 32-bit colors, and it also has support for high-resolution textures. The Voodoo card was more about pure speed, but it was already falling behind in terms of technology. It had a big benefit, of course, which is support for the Glide API. Let's have a look at the specifications of this card. The graphics chip is clocked at 125 megahertz. We have 32 megabytes of SD RAM connected with a 128-bit memory interface, and the clock speed of the memory is 150 megahertz. I had a look at the memory modules. We can see it has a rating of 6 nanoseconds. Here's a photo of the chip, and then I typed that into Google. I found a datasheet, and we can see these modules are rated for 166 megahertz, so we should be able to do a little bit of overclocking later. A suitable platform for this video card is the Pentium 3, but I wanted to make sure that we are giving the video card enough processing power, so I'm going with the Pentium 4. Unfortunately, I ran into a big roadblock. As soon as I inserted the card and attached an ATX power supply, a little LED started to light up next to the AGP port. So while I'm figuring out what's going on, here a quick word from our sponsor. This video is brought to you by PCBWay, our channel sponsor, your one-stop shop for printed circuit boards manufacturing and assembly, but also CNC machining, 3D printing, and more. Check the video description for links and more information. Checking the user manual, it says that the AGP LED will light up, indicating a non-supported graphics card. Right on the first page, it specifically mentions the Viper V770 and talks about jumpers, and that you can configure it into an AGP 4X mode, which will be compatible with this motherboard. However, it turns out that my specific version of the video card doesn't have jumpers installed. I had a look online, and there seem to be versions around that do have these jumpers. Now, I am considering soldering on some headers and checking out if that will address the issue, but that's for another time and a future video. So in the end, we are going with a Pentium 3 system after all. This is a slot 1 motherboard. It is the Asus model number P3BF. This is the board that I did some repairing on recently. So yeah, let's see if we have better success with this one. Fast processors for the slot 1 platform are hard to find, so I'm using a socket 370 to slot 1 adapter together with a Pentium 3 900 MHz. we will be doing some benchmarking and of course checking out some games. So we need a sound card. It is of course the Sound Blaster Live, very period accurate and suitable for such a project. And for storage, we're using the Gotek USB floppy drive emulator. And for the hard drive, we have a StarTech adapter that converts from SATA to IDE together with a 32GB SSD. It seems that I haven't flashed the latest BIOS on this board because we're getting a message that the CPU is not supported. We're also getting a warning about missing -5 volts, but we can just go into the BIOS and ignore that sensor. If it has a BIOS, we will flash it. So here we go. You can see me flashing the latest BIOS. It's a beta release. You can still grab it from the Asus website. And after that, the processor is detected and supported just fine. Installing Windows 98 SE worked just fine. Next up is installing the Intel chipset drivers. And then, very important, go into Device Manager and set DMA mode so you get good storage performance. Here we've got the ATTO disk benchmark, and you can see we get the typical performance of a Intel 440BX chipset motherboard. I got one warning in Device Manager about missing PS2 mouse. I played around with some of the BIOS settings because on this board today I'm using a USB keyboard and mouse. In the end, I just disabled it in Device Manager. I'm sure there's a workaround. If you know, please let me know in the comments. There are many drivers to choose from. I wanted to start off with something period correct. I went to the archive.org website and found a CD. It's the Diamond Viper V770 version 1.0 for installation CD-ROM, and I'm mounting it with Daemon Tools, which is a virtual CD drive. It's got the drivers, some Nvidia tech demos, and installation went just fine. I ran some quick benchmarks to see that everything is working. In GLQuake at 800 by 600 with 32-bit colors, we're getting 80 FPS. In 3D Mark 99 Max, 4702 3D Marks. And in 3D Mark 2000, 2316 3D Marks. Next up, I wanted to try a newer driver. Now, you can go to the Nvidia website and grab the latest drivers, but they are not recommended. In fact, they will cause issues, or at least they caused issues for me. You want to use an older driver. Now, the Diamond website still exists, but there's nothing on the download section that relates to this old graphics card. So I used the Wayback Machine, and look at that. I found some drivers from around 1999 and the year 2000. Now, the download links, they're not working on the Wayback Machine, but we can see the driver version. We are looking at version 4.12.01.0368, and then I just Googled that driver version and found it on the driver guide website. Unfortunately, these drivers didn't work for me. The system would boot very slowly, and then we are stuck at the 640 by 480 resolution, not able to change anything. So I'm going to the Phil's Computer Lab website. Years ago, I uploaded a Nvidia driver archive for Windows 98, and I'm using the driver version 5.32. These worked really well for me. All the benchmarks completed, all the games I tried worked fine, and we're also getting a performance boost. GLQuake improves now to 92.4 FPS. 99 Max improved to 6,708 3D Marks, and in 3D Mark 2000, 2,999. And now let's have a look at some benchmarks, testing at various resolutions and also comparing 16-bit with 32-bit colors. GLQuake is first. Here we have the results for 32-bit colors, checking out various resolutions, and you can see how the performance is really high at 640 by 480, and then of course as we increase the number of pixels, the performance goes down. 1280 by 1024 is really not suitable, so it seems at 32-bit colors you want to stick to around 640 by 480 or 800 by 600. Switching to 16-bit colors, this means less work for the graphics chip. The performance goes up at 1024 by 768. We're now getting the smooth 60 FPS, so it's a nice performance boost across the board. Here we have incoming, and this game is one of those games that really look nice with 32-bit colors. And if you're running it with 16-bit colors, you can really see some dithering going on. So still playable at 1024 by 768, I would say. And switching to 16-bit colors, again, a nice performance boost across the board. Let's have a look at Expendable. Now, this is a game that is quite heavy on the processor. We might be a little bit bottlenecked by our 900 megahertz CPU here. And yeah, this one struggling, to be honest. We're not getting the smooth 60 FPS at any resolution. Switching to 16-bit colors, the performance is now improved. Even 800 by 600, we're getting an average FPS of 60. Let's have a look at overclocking. The Diamond drivers, I was kind of hoping there is some built-in overclocking tool available, but I couldn't find anything, so we're using good old power strip. Here are the results for GL Quake at 1024 by 768 with 32-bit colors. First, I only raised the memory from 150 to 166, and we see a nice performance boost. And then I'm also raising the clock speed to 150 megahertz. We're getting 58.3. So that's a nice performance boost, around 16 to 17%. What about legacy features like paletted textures and table fog? Let's check it out. Table fog is working just fine. Here we can see Thief 2 displaying the fog as expected. Paletted textures, unfortunately, are not supported. Both Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VIII report that this feature is not supported. And now we get to the part of my videos where I'm spending a bit more time actually playing games. And today we're testing Drakan Order of the Flame. Now, in the past videos there are a couple of other games I should be continuing, but I got a little bit bored and I wanted to try out something new. So this game, it's a third-person action adventure. It doesn't seem to be available online as a digital copy, so you have to find it on various abandonware websites, it seems. I've used this game for benchmarking in the past. If you launch the executable with the -bench command, it will run a benchmark sequence, and then there will be a little text file showing you the FPS. In terms of technology, this is a direct 3D game. I believe it's DirectX 6. For audio, it supports EAX and A3D. Now, EAX, it's one of the first versions, I think version 1 or 2, so nothing amazing. It worked just fine with the Sound Blaster Live. I haven't had a chance to try out A3D with an Orville Vortex 2, but this is definitely something I want to do in the future. I had to remap quite a few keys to make it, well, more compatible with modern gaming layouts. Also in the settings, you can max out and tweak some of the graphics settings, and I also had to increase the brightness. I found this game to be quite dark, especially in caves. Now, the user manual talks about a Pentium 133 megahertz for minimum and a Pentium MMX 233 as a recommended CPU. I think that is very optimistic. I mean, this is a Pentium 3 with 900 megahertz, and from benchmarking in the past, I know that this game likes a strong processor. In the beginning, I let fraps running, and most of the time we're getting smooth 60 FPS. I'm playing with VSync to get rid of any tearing, but there are definitely FPS dips. It's nothing bad, still very playable, and yeah, it's authentic. That's how things were back in the day. I'm running at 640 by 480, so yes, it's a very low resolution. You might think it's quite pixelated. On the video card that we're using today, performance is really nice at that resolution, and I think it looks good. It looks authentic and also makes the text very easy to read at that resolution. This game has a map, and on the map you can sort of see what your next task is. And the first few tasks that are achieved, well, first you need to get a key from underneath the tavern, and then you need to go somewhere else and grab a book. The next task is fetching a crystal, and then you can awaken Arok, which is a powerful dragon. Now, the map, it does show you the tasks, and it does mention locations most of the time, but on the map it doesn't visually indicate where those locations are, so it's a bit of exploring and running around. Maybe if you have the original, there's a map inside. I'm not sure. If you know, please share your thoughts down below. But it's not too difficult. You follow the paths basically, and as long as you keep running into monsters to fight, you know that you haven't been in this area before and you are progressing. It has various difficulties. I chose the easy mode, of course. You know, life is challenging enough. I don't need any digital challenges in my life. It's still not super easy. I still died a few times in combat, so I just remapped quick save and quick load to F5 and F6, and then it's actually pretty easy. There are also plenty of cheats available with developer mode, but I didn't have to use any of that. There are potions to heal throughout the game. Some of the enemies that you kill, they drop potions, but you can also find them hidden in barrels that you can smash all throughout the levels if you do a bit of exploring. The controls do feel a little bit clunky compared to, you know, modern games, but yeah, nothing terrible. I enjoyed playing the game, and I progressed until the point where you awaken the dragon and then you can fly around, which is pretty amazing seeing the level from high up. Definitely a game I want to keep playing in the future. I copied the save folder with the progress onto my archive drive, so next project, maybe on a faster machine, I can just copy it onto that computer and pick up where I left. So all in all, I think this is a pretty decent game. If you have experience or you got some tips, please share your thoughts down below. So guys, the Viper V770 from Diamond Multimedia. I really like this video card. If you're building a Windows 98 retro PC and you want authentic and period accurate performance, then this is a really lovely video card to check out. Now, you're not gonna get silky smooth 60 FPS in all resolutions, and you're not gonna be able to crank up anisotropic filtering and anti-aliasing like with a GeForce FX or something like that. So it's not the card to build a maxed out Windows 98 gaming PC. But if you're happy to play at 640 by 480 or 800 by 600, then this card will certainly do the job. In Drakan, we could see that at that resolution, most of the time it will run at 60 FPS. Every now and then, the performance does go down, even tank, you can say, but it's really not a big deal. That's how things were back in the day, and playing the game, it was a really good experience. The chip on this video card, which is the Nvidia RIVA TNT2, plays a huge role in video card history. It had more features than what the 3DFX Voodoo 3 card offered. Performance, it depends. I've been researching a couple of videos from other YouTubers that compare these two cards with a faster processor. The Voodoo 3 3500 is actually a little bit faster in most games, but that's in 16-bit colors. In the end of the day, the TNT2 was just the more modern chip. It had more modern technology, and that's what a lot of gamers also looked at, looking into the future. 32-bit colors, high resolution textures. Now later, the Voodoo 4 and the Voodoo 5, they addressed these issues, but by then it was too late. The first GeForce 256 was already out, and yeah, the rest is history. Finding a RIVA TNT2 shouldn't be too difficult, but getting one from Diamond Multimedia, I expect you will have to pay a premium. Now be careful, there are some M64 variants of this card, but they are quite a bit slower, so you're not gonna get anything near the performance that you saw in this video. So guys, and now I wanna hear from you. Which camp were you on? Were you camp 3DFX and you had a Voodoo 3, appreciating the Glide API and maybe the faster performance in the games that were most important to you? Or were you in the camp Nvidia? You wanted the 32-bit colors, the future-proofing, the higher resolution textures, and so on. Please share your comments down below. I read every single comment, and especially the year 1999. It's such an awesome year in retro PC gaming. So much technology changed. I mean, a year before, it was only when DirectX launched with all sorts of issues, and then a year later we have all these amazing 3D cards. So technology progressed so incredibly fast back in those days. So guys, there you go. That was my video on the Viper V770 from Diamond. I hope you liked it. Thank you so much for your support, and I shall see you soon with another one.